Omonia FC 0. I mean, we expected maybe 6, 7, 8 goals. We got 1, and a win is a win. But ultimately, we could be sat here right now discussing a draw, and potentially should be sat here right now discussing a draw. But we're not. And if we had been talking about a draw, then we would be out of the race to finish top. We would be finishing second, and we would have to play the playoff. So, look, I know a lot of people are very frustrated. I get it. There's a lot to get into. I'm certainly going to get into a few of our players. It's just not good enough. This is a Manchester United shirt, and again, the standards are being allowed to drop, and it's something that Erik ten Hag either is not aware of or needs to be aware of, that some of these players who keep doing it for him have been doing it for a long time. I told you Scott would score. Casemiro is clueless, as Jenks. So, yeah, jokes aside, it wasn't good enough today. But there seemed to be a bit of an argument about celebrating that goal. How can you celebrate that? It's embarrassing because it's a win. It's a win that still gives us a chance of finishing top of the group, which is really important. But that doesn't mean that you ignore the fact that we were terrible. But of course, I'd rather win than draw. And look, I felt sorry for the Cypriots, but we've won it. Erik ten Hag taught them how to move on the pitch and get open. Time for finishing classes. What do players learn in the youth academy? Says 12 times. Crapford, but Hayes English. We can't criticise him, says Sulai. And Mark, can we set this trend? Says Martin. Look, you can do your player ratings. Links in the video description. Mark every player out of 10. 6 being the average. But look, talking about Rashford, but let's bring Bruno into it. Shocking performances by both of those players who are key players to Erik ten Hag. He never subs Bruno and he never really subs Rashford. They are two of his players that are clearly in the club of players that he sees as essential to his first team. And yet they are two players. And I like the fact that we're talking about two players because then it can't be individualisation of one problem. Bruno and Rashford are lost, absolutely shipwrecked in a team that has to play against the low block. They've got no bloody idea. You can see them look up and they almost go, I better have a shot. They only want to pass if they absolutely have to do it. They shit themselves. They look up, and because they haven't got 40 yards of space to sprint into or play a Hollywood pass in, they don't know what to do. And time again, we saw it from Bruno today. He's the number 10. His job, he was being likened to Kevin De Bruyne 18 months ago. You wouldn't even liken him to James Maddison now. He has fell off. Bottom line, I love Bruno. I think he talks a good game. I think when he came to the club, he spoke a good game. And I've backed Bruno a lot. But I don't think, and Nick P said it in the watch-along, I don't think people realise how bad that side is that we played today. They are not a championship side. I don't even think they're a League One side. I think they're a League Two side. So put it into context. That performance today was dreadful. We are not playing a team that is relatively good. They are relatively bad. I am not taking the piss. Plymouth Argyle would beat them. They are not that good at all. We've got a number 10 who should be grabbing hold of that game and running it. And he doesn't know how to do it. He can't do it. He can do it against Everton when we're counter-attacking. And he can do it away to Leicester. And he can do it at home to Arsenal when they're pressing us high up the pitch. But when a team sits in, he doesn't know what to do. You look at him, he looks up and he looks for that 40-yard curled pass. And it won't work. It won't work. He's got to learn to pass the ball intricately. Like someone like Sancho can, like Mata could, like Eriksen can. He's the number 10. He's got to do a lot better than that tonight. He's not the reason we didn't smash Omonia. Of course he's not. But he's got to be better. He was being compared to Kevin De Bruyne. If you compared Kevin De Bruyne to Bruno now, you get laughed out. You get laughed out. And that means he's fallen off. I don't like using those terms, but he was being compared to Bruno, to De Bruyne. That's a farce now. He's got to do better. And as for Rashford, look, he could have had a hat-trick tonight. If he gets those chances on Sunday, maybe he does. But I still think, again, Rashford is a player that needs to work on his final ball. Too many times today, he looks up and he passes as the last resort. If there's a shot on or someone to run at, he will do it. And that makes it very difficult in the front four when you've got two players who really don't know what they're doing against a low block. Anthony hardly got any of the ball. And as for the criticism of Ronaldo, oh my God, I welcome this, right? I said this about Erling Haaland. I was on TalkSport last week and I said Erling Haaland in a Man United side would not score many goals because we don't create chances for our number 9. You put Erling Haaland up front for United tonight, he's walking off like Ronaldo. Nothing. Unless he produces something on his own, which is what Ronaldo tried to do a couple of times. Ronaldo had a couple of shots from stupid angles. It was frustrating, but he was probably frustrated. For all the big chances we created today, Ronaldo had nothing. He had no clear-cut chance. Why is that? We create nothing for our number 9. And somebody said in the watch-along, well, he doesn't make the movement. Come on. Was there any cross that went into the box that you went, well, if Ronaldo had moved for that? The crossing was crap. It was laboured around the edge of the box. There was so many shots from distance. The chances we created were for people like Fred and Casemiro because they were focused on Ronaldo. The team clearly does not have an option to replace Bruno. He stays on even when he was awful. Yeah, look, Stephen, moving away from the attack, Bruno should have come off after an hour. Like, that performance deserved to be subbed, and he played 90 minutes. And that's not maybe Ten Hag's fault, indirectly. But when you don't sub a player... Bruno would be disgusted with himself if he got subbed off after an hour in a game like that. The fact that we can't sub him off in a game like that is worrying. Bruno plays high up instead of dropping to the midfield to create for the striker, says EJ. No service to Ronnie. Man made more runs into the box than passes that were made to him, says Tracy. And we need one more creator. Good game had me on my toes, says Ruben. And look, and people are saying, why don't we try Garnacho? Why don't we try Palestri? Look, you will never use your youth when your first team can't beat teams like that. It's a poison. It's a double-edged sword. The plan today was to be 3 or 4-0 up with the first team and then bring the reserves on. The first team have got a game in 2.5 days against Newcastle, which will be difficult. They've just spent 95 minutes beating the Cyprus national team. That is a shit show tonight. Ten Hag will be really pissed off because his players, we've got to play Newcastle on Sunday, Spurs on Wednesday and Chelsea on Saturday. We've got 3 massive Premier League games to come. And we've just played our first team for 90 minutes, basically. Because they're not good enough to beat... they need stoppage time to win it. The only major flaw I would point out is that we do not put enough balls into the box. I compare our football to City. They are relentless with crosses, more men in the box and more balls inside. We can't cross the ball, George. You can say put crosses into the box. The quality of our crosses from corners and, open play is terrible. I'd like to get the ball to Anthony a little bit more, but... it is a shit performance today, masked by the fact that we got the win in the end. If we'd drawn that game, it would be the equivalent of losing to Brentford 4-0. People need to realise how bad that team is that we played today. Not the team that we performed, not our team. The opposition are terrible. I really genuinely think that Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City would beat them by 5 clear goals quite comfortably. So I don't know what went wrong with this today because we're capable of beating Arsenal. We're capable of beating Everton away. I don't know what went wrong with this tonight, but that is absolutely abysmal performance. And, I think it's the same old problem. Inconsistency. Inconsistency kills this club. We are capable of beating teams. But we are not capable of being consistent. There is a mind block in these players. And I don't know whether Ten Hag can solve it with these players. I think we need another 5 or 6. Because I look at Casemiro, looks good. Martinez looks good. Anthony, obviously, is brand new, but, Eriksen looks good. The players that we have a problem with are the players that have been here for bloody years, bought by other managers. They're the infection in the team. They're the ones that cause the inconsistency. Anthony's one-dimensional. Look, I think Anthony's a very new player, but the plan today, the plan tonight, was to play for an hour with Ronaldo, Bruno, Casemiro, Lindelof, etc. Be 3 or 4-0 up, and then bring on Varane, bring on McTominay, bring on Sancho, bring on a couple of the younger players. And actually what we've ended up doing is playing the first team for basically 90 minutes to scrap. And I mean, it's shocking. It really is shocking. I'm very, very pleased that we won the game, because at least all that effort produced a result. Because psychologically, going into Newcastle, we would have been very, very tired, having played most of our first team and drawing against this lot. We needed that win at the end for many reasons. We needed the win at the end so that we still got a chance of finishing top of the group, which is unlikely, but there is a chance. And we needed that win because we need it for the game on Sunday. And I don't think we'll play anywhere near as bad on Sunday. In fact, I'd be tempted to say I bet we beat Newcastle on Sunday, because I don't think we can play that badly again. And as we know with United, when they play badly, they tend to respond, and there will be a response. But my biggest problem is, shout out my girlfriend Alanta for me, Mark says get. My biggest problem with it is we just know there's going to be another performance like this at some point. Whether it's Stamford Bridge in a week, whether it's Spurs midweek, there will be a game in the next 4 or 5 games where we play like this, like we did at Man City, where the mentality is just wrong. And let's go back to the start before we do the player ratings. Man United came into that game and treated it differently to Everton. We went to Everton, raining, Goodison Park, straight after the Manchester derby. We had to go out there, we had to work hard from minute 1 to minute 90. Concentration, effort, unity came through in bucket loads. Come here tonight, Old Trafford. We're playing them shit lot from Cyprus. We'll cruise this. Mentality drops. Cohesion drops. Concentration drops. And that's what happens. And that's the problem with this team. They cannot keep the level there every game. And that's the difference between Manchester United and Man City. Manchester United and the teams that go and win things. We cannot do what Arsenal have done this season. We can't go and win week after week after week after week. There is a mentality issue with these players that one week they're brilliant, and then the next week it drops. It drops off. And we saw it again today. It drops. And, you know, people say, well, we had loads and loads of chances. We should have won that game 2 or 3-0, but really, you should be winning that game 6 or 7-0. Their keeper played well, but I don't think the finishing was bad. It was lazy. He didn't make a world-class save, that goalkeeper. He didn't. He made good saves, but the finishing wasn't elite. It was bad finishing most of the time. Rashford needs to realise that even if he goes past 2 or 3 men, the shot isn't always on. Well, Thomas, that's on Ten Hag. I'm sorry. We can't keep saying the same things about Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, or any other player that's been here for a while. He needs to learn it, and he needs to learn it quick. We already know that Rashford's final ball needs to be worked on. We already know he can be quite greedy. We already know that Bruno can't unlock a deep line defence. Ten Hag's got to make him do it. He's got to. Sometimes while playing such teams, maybe the hunger fades away to casualness. 100% Neil. No one wanted to win today until the 80th minute. Forgettable performance. Yeah, forget and move on. We did win. I think the post-mortem needs to stop tomorrow morning, and we need to start thinking about Newcastle. But everyone's got a right to be frustrated with those players, because you know what? There's only 3 or 4 players. We're going to do the player ratings now, but there's only 3 or 4 players that come out of that game with any credibility. You can't knock McTominay. He's come on and scored a goal. So you can't knock Casemiro. He did his job. Martinez did his job. De Gea did his job. They're the only players that I think should be, you know, coming out on Twitter and saying good performance. You know, if we get a Rashford or a Bruno or somebody else coming out and going, yeah, we kept fighting to the end. It's not because of you we won that game. It's despite you, actually. Like, keep your gob shut and go and perform against Newcastle, because it wasn't camaraderie and team cohesion that won us that game. It was just a little bit of luck at the end. And we shouldn't need luck to win against them at Old Trafford. And people will say, you know, there will be some people who will be furious. There'll be some people who are like, I'm going to bed. And there'll be some people who are saying, oh, stop moaning, it's just one of those nights. But if you accept it as one of those nights, how many one of those nights have we had? If we'd have been... The scary thing is, if we'd have been playing Newcastle or Sociedad or whoever else is in this tournament in the latter stages like that tonight, we would have got beat. They didn't even know how to attack, and we still only scored in stoppage time. So that was a loss tonight against anybody decent, and it nearly was a draw. Definitely Sancho an option to explore for number 10, says Suraf. And you're right, Mark, same players, same problems. Fred and Lindelof gave the balls away. Too many square passes. How do we have 700 and they have 200, says Sean. Look, for me, We're going to go through the players now. We're going to go through the match player ratings now. You can catch me up by doing it through the link in the description. Mark every player out of 10, 6 being the average. But for me, you've hit the nail on the head with some of those players. Players that I just think I query. And some of them will be and some of them won't be. But I will say it. Ryan Edwards, welcome to Members Club. I query whether Lindelof, Harry Maguire, Fred, Rashford, Bruno... I query whether those players can be part of our future. And there are others, but I query it because they keep pulling out performances that we've seen from them for the last 2-3 years sometimes. And it's a new manager and they're still doing it. Ronaldo's not going to be here forever anyway. And we all know the quality of Ronaldo. Anthony, Eriksen, Casemiro, Martinez, they're all new players. Varane is world class. De Gea is not the issue here tonight. So... Delo, I think, is improving a lot. But there are players that get picked a lot who I worry about. I wish we had someone who could put a cross in, says Joseph. You cannot underestimate the crap quality of crosses that we put in. The crossing is abysmal. And you know what? Going back to Bruno, De Bruyne can cross the ball superbly well. Bruno's fucking corners are shit. They really are. But look, I don't want it to be a witch hunt. That's not what it should be. I think there needs to be a response against Newcastle. But that was bloody embarrassing tonight. And we're going to have up and downs. It's going to be a roller coaster. But we can't have that much of a down. It's not acceptable from some of those players again tonight. But look, let's do the player ratings anyway. Let's have some positivity. So for me, De Gea was a 6 tonight. Didn't have anything to do. Was quick out of his box a couple of times and his distribution was good, so nothing wrong with him. I thought Delo was a 6 as well. Didn't have a lot to do, showed a lot of energy. I'd like to see more crosses coming into the box, but to be honest with you, we didn't really do much down the right hand side. Jonas says every time Ronaldo drops deep they put in a cross, and if he's in the box they don't. Sancho and Shaw could have put in 10 or 15 crosses but didn't. You know why they put the cross in? Jonas, you've just reminded me of something. You know why the cross gets put in when Ronaldo's not in the box? I'll explain it to you. Because Ronaldo drops deep and plays the simple pass to the fullback that gives them the time to put the cross in. Then he's not in the box. Bruno or anybody else doesn't play that pass when Ronaldo's there. It's the most simple explanation. You're very right. The amount of times Ronaldo passes the ball to the fullback and then they whip a cross in and Ronaldo's not there because he's played the pass to them. Somebody should be paying the pass that Ronaldo does when Ronaldo's there, but they don't. How many new players and a new manager and still can't break a low block? What is it, says Carl? Mate, it's just it's a sign of how much work needs to be done. Lindelof probably a 6 as well. Not really, nothing. I'll probably give Martinez a 6.5. Malacia, 6. Casemiro probably a 7 for me. I thought he was... in fact, I'll give him my man of the match. I think Casemiro was... unlucky not to score, even though it's not his game, and fair play to McTominay for scoring, but it's not their job as a CDM to score the winning goals. But Casemiro could have scored again. He keeps getting into good positions, hit the bar, good shot, had a header, could have scored with that. Tackling was good. Should have been a red card for a tackle on him. Passing was relentless. As a CDM, it's not his job to make it 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. His job is to rotate the play and keep it moving, which he did. Incred says, I like a Delo, but real, his crossing is always in the clouds. For me, it would be Casemiro or Martinez as man of the match. Fred, I just don't get it. Eric Ten Hag was talking about Fred before the game, saying that, he's a really good player and the high press and everything like that. I thought he was pants tonight. I really did. I don't, he's in a position where, he's meant to be the Eriksen replacement, and I don't know what he is. He had a shot in the first 2 minutes. He missed a free header, and then he's waving at everyone, saying sorry with a smile on his face. It's games like that where I miss Roy Keane, because when Fred's missing an open header in the first half and waving and smiling at everyone, Roy Keane's telling him to fuck off. It's like the mentality is just wrong in that team. It really is. That guy says, games like today when we're high, his possession suit Ronaldo, Sancho and Eriksen more than Rashford and Bruno. Ten Hag got it wrong. Yeah, I think you're right, yeah. I love Ronaldo. I think we need to sign Osman. He's the only striker that can do the job for now. He still needs service, Amos. And our players just like boys playing against men in most games. Bruno sometimes forgets what he's good at, thinks others are creators for him, says well, yeah, I don't get that as well. Can I, just going back to Bruno, who I think we're going to actually come to now. So we'll talk about Bruno now. It must be tactical, but every manager seems to do it. Solskjaer started doing it, and Rangnick did it, and now Ten Hag does it. And I don't get it. They all start to play Bruno as almost a second striker. He's playing way too high up the pitch. He's got to get involved. He's got to come deeper. De Bruyne, watch De Bruyne. Watch James Maddison. Watch Odegaard. They're part of the defensive move, and they're getting the ball deep as well as attacking. Bruno's so easy to read because he spends so much time on the edge of the box. He doesn't move around enough. Get involved. Bruno for me was a 5. Not good. Anthony, probably a 5.5. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Rashford, 5. Yeah, I mean, look, he should have had a hat-trick. It was bad finishing, but just not a good day for Rashford. And, surprised actually. If he's going to turn the corner and be this consistent player today, he could have had a hat-trick and he didn't. He'd be very disappointed with himself. And he still needs to look to pass more. It's like you're playing down the park with your mates and you think you're better than everybody else. He's constantly trying to shoot. And sometimes he's right, but a lot of the time he shouldn't be shooting. So, no, him and Bruno were disappointing today. Ronaldo's got to be a 5. Again, it's the graveyard shift. I've given it to Cavani in the past. Lots of good movement from Ronaldo, but zero service. Luke Shaw came on and did okay. Sancho came on and did okay. Eriksen came on and did okay. And McTominay came and did on okay, got a goal. Ten Hag. It's difficult. I mean, it's got to be a 5, hasn't it? Let's be honest. I love Ten Hag. I really do. But I think the criticism today I would have that would knock him down from average to below average is his substitutions were wrong. Bruno should have come off after an hour. I would have kept Anthony on and took Rashford off. I think he got his subs wrong. I think Bruno and Rashford should have been off after an hour. They played 90 minutes. I'd have brought Sancho on. I'd have kept I'd have put Eriksen on for Bruno and played him higher up the pitch. I'd have put Sancho on for Rashford. I'd have kept Anthony on, and I think we would have won the game quicker. So for me, Eric Ten Hag below average today. Little bit. I mean, I'm with Ten Hag. I'm 100% behind him. I think he's the right manager, but I think his favouritism towards Rashford and Bruno didn't look good today, and it frustrated me a little bit. And that will happen. That will happen. It will. I 100% back him. I think he's the right manager, but his obsession with Bruno and Rashford today was wrong. I think it sends the wrong message. They should have been subbed off, and we were very lucky to get the win. But we just need to park it. We need to move on. Your man of the match was Casemiro with 40% of the vote. I can tell you that second place went to Martinez with 32% of the vote. So Martinez was second, but Casemiro gets it first. Smash a like on the video if Casemiro deserved it as far as you're concerned. But Manchester United do get the win. I will tell you now, I will not be dwelling on this other than what I've discussed tonight and what I'm about to watch on the forum. Tomorrow morning, I'll be thinking about Newcastle and a massive game on Sunday. I want to forget it. The positive is that we did find a way to win. The positive is that hopefully they all get a kick up the arse for Newcastle. And the positive is that we still got a chance to finish top of the group. But we probably don't deserve it. We were very, very lucky. And, the players need to take a long, hard look at themselves, because it's absolutely embarrassing that players on that amount of money wearing that shirt do not know how to move the ball quickly and create space against the low block. This is fucking Premier League football. This is Europa League football, and we've got players who can only play counter-attacking football. It's embarrassing, and we got away with it today. But if I was any team in the Premier League watching that, I'd go, next time we go to Old Trafford, bank a 5, bank a 3, 2 quick players on the counter-attack, we'll get something. And we need to learn to do it. We need to change it. And if it's Sancho at number 10 and Bruno needs to spend a bit of time on the bench, But I tell you what, Donny van der Beek, SOS, if you were fit, mates, fucking hell, you'd be in the first team. You must be gutted. And I don't care what people think about Donny van der Beek. You must be gutted, mate, because you'd walk into this team at the moment. Absolutely walk into it because he can pass and move. Simple as that. Anyway, I'll see you on the forum. Thanks everyone for watching.